When Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown fell in love, their beautiful story quickly turned into a fire beyond everybody's control. Whatever it was, it changed Whitney forever, and not in a good way. Before Bobby Brown ever came into her life, Whitney Houston was already a superstar. America's sweetheart with no scandals. At least none the public knew about. Bobby Brown was the exact opposite. Arrests, partying, wild behavior. Basically everything Whitney's team warned her to stay far away from. And yet, that's exactly what pulled her in. They first crossed paths at the 1989 Soul Train Music Awards.
Playing around, man. You better chill. I'm not.
Hey.
A month later, they ran into each other again at a BB and CC Winans concert. This time, Bobby didn't hesitate. He asked her out right there, even though she was still seeing Eddie Murphy. And instead of shutting it down, Whitney said yes. That's where the story starts getting uncomfortable. Because the truth is, Whitney wasn't the fragile angel people imagine. Bobby would later say she drank, partied, and swore just like he did.
Well, that was the first time I had actually saw her do drugs.
Cocaine.
Yes, ma'am.
But admitting that ruins the narrative everyone loves. It's easier to blame Bobby for everything that came next. Easier to turn Whitney into the victim. But from the very beginning, this relationship was about two people who knew the consequences and chose to run straight toward the chaos. Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown married on July 18, 1992. The marriage was rushed, almost defiant. People close to Whitney later admitted they were nervous. Her team hated the match. Friends warned her. Industry execs quietly panicked. Bobby was seen as a liability. Bad for her image, bad for her brand, bad for business. Whitney didn't care. A year later, on March 4th, 1993, their daughter Bobby Christina was born. Bobby named her himself, blending both their names like proof this thing was permanent. And for a while, it actually looked like it worked. From the outside, it looked like Bobby was grounding her. But behind closed doors, the intensity never turned off. They fought hard, loved hard, partied hard. There was no off switch, no balance, just emotion on max volume all the time. And when you build a marriage on that kind of fire, it doesn't slowly cool down. It explodes. For a while, Whitney and Bobby were loud about being in love, almost like they needed everyone to believe it.
Black History Year for 1 year.
Yeah.
Out of every 2 years. 1 year, Black History Year.
All right.
Boom!
Where do you think the kids are getting?
Whitney made it clear she wasn't embarrassed and she wasn't backing down. They even recorded a song together, Something in Common. The title alone felt like a message to the critics. But while Whitney was publicly standing 10 toes down for her husband, Bobby's legal problems kept piling up. DUI arrests, drug charges, tabloid headlines that never seemed to stop. Whitney wasn't some innocent bystander getting dragged into chaos. Bobby would later admit he saw her using cocaine before they even got married.
The one thing that they heard over and over again, that you were the one that led Whitney to heavy drug use.
Well,
That you were the one.
it wasn't me.
According to him, it wasn't something he introduced. It was already there. The difference was that together, there was no one pumping the brakes.
I take my part and I take it hard for me even being a part of it. But we all have our own minds.
They partied the same way. They fed off each other's energy. When one went too far, the other didn't pull them back. They went further together. Still, the love was real, intense, almost obsessive. Whitney believed she could handle it, that she was strong enough, that love could cover the cracks. And for a while, it did. But cracks don't disappear when you ignore them. They widen. And what came next was what neither of them ever wanted. By the early 2000s, Whitney was canceling tours. She looked unwell. Weight loss, slurred speech, performances that felt shaky instead of powerful.
It may be a bad shot, but this is real. I mean, the bones, that's real.
Yeah, my bones, yeah. I'm 5'7" and thin.
I can understand what you mean.
The same woman who once sounded effortless now looked like she was fighting just to stay upright. The cameras kept rolling, and then came the interview, the one people still talk about.
I make too much money to ever smoke crack. Let's get that straight, okay? We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack.
It was meant to be a denial. It landed like a confession. At that point, the public needed a villain to blame, and Bobby was the easiest target. He already had the reputation, the image of the bad husband dragging down a legend. But behind the scenes, it was deeper than that. We saw Bobby admitting to seeing Whitney using drugs even before their wedding. He claimed he tried to stop it, but she wasn't ready. And when two people are deep in addiction, love doesn't save you. It traps you.
I always made it a point to not let her see me or my wife in that type of situation. I mean, it's hard when you know, you're doing it every day.
The fights between the couple turned physical. Infidelity rumors exploded. In September 2006, Whitney finally filed for separation. The divorce was finalized the next year. She got custody of Bobby Christina. Bobby was left with the blame and the guilt.
One of us trying to be clean and the other one don't want to be clean.
And by then, neither of them knew how to save her. After the divorce was finalized in 2007, there was this feeling that maybe, just maybe, Whitney could finally reset. And in 2009, it actually felt real. Whitney came back with I Look to You, and it debuted at #1. Her voice wasn't what it used to be, but people didn't care.
Hear a song, I look to you.
They wanted her back, and there she was, surviving a bad marriage and finding her way out. But behind the scenes, the struggle never stopped. Relapses, missed rehearsals, tour dates that felt forced. Bobby would later admit something most people don't expect him to say, that the separation didn't bring him relief. It brought regret.
You and Whitney failed, Bobby Chris.
We should have been better. We could have been better. At such a young age for us both to have any and everything that we wanted.
Not better artists, not better celebrities, parents. Because even though they weren't together anymore, the damage didn't end with the divorce. Their daughter had grown up surrounded by instability, fame, and addiction, and there was no clean break from that world. Then, in February 2012, the comeback narrative collapsed completely.
Singer Whitney Houston, one of the greatest voices of our generation. CNN has gotten confirmation from her representative.
Whitney Houston was found dead in a hotel bathtub. She was 48 years old. The cause, as the autopsy revealed, was accidental drowning, cocaine in her system, and suddenly everything people blamed on Bobby came rushing back. After Whitney's death, the relationship between Bobby Christina and Nick Gordon confused people, worried others, and raised red flags almost immediately. In 2014, Bobby Christina announced they were married. Bobby Brown was furious. He didn't trust Nick, and he felt like history was repeating itself. Then came January 31st, 2015. Bobby Christina was found unresponsive in a bathtub. The same kind of bathtub. After months in hospice care, she died on July 26, 2015. She was 22 years old. The cause? Pneumonia, drug intoxication, and drowning. The parallels were impossible to ignore. Bobby was destroyed. He publicly blamed Nick Gordon and later filed a $10 million wrongful death lawsuit. A civil court found Nick legally responsible, but no criminal charges ever came. And whether people believe him or not, one thing is clear. That marriage damaged Whitney's image. It exposed the pressure she'd been under her entire life. Bobby didn't create those problems, but he didn't stop them either. Their love wasn't a fairy tale, and it wasn't a villain story. It was two intense people finding each other at the wrong time with no safety net and no brakes. And once that kind of love goes off the rails, it doesn't just hurt the people in it. It leaves scars that last for generations. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you want more stories like this, and subscribe to see more real stories behind the icons.